Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind. Hey, everybody, here we go with another episode, and not just any other episode.
Yeah,
This is
exciting
our
stuff.
100th.
It's like the 100th day of school.
episode.
Oh my God,
Is it really?
it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Right? So we're
Exciting.
gonna celebrate by drinking a little bit more beer than
We
usual.
are
Because I think that's appropriate.
totally appropriate. I like
And we're gonna enjoy ourselves. We're gonna drink an anniversary beer
We
here,
are.
you guys. So I think we're gonna start with that one, right?
it. Yeah, we are.
So we're gonna drink a few beers from Perennial Artisan Ales in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
And the very first one we're going to drink is an anniversary beer that's also a collaboration. Go ahead and share the name with me.
Yeah,
Lauren.
it's Planned Collapse. So,
Okay.
10th
Well, that's
anniversary.
kind of
yeah.
ominous.
They've had a couple different unique names, but it's a collab with Half Acre. I have not had this, so I mean it's unique. It's an IPA, so that's what we're gonna start with
Let's
today.
open it.
Right.
And while you're opening it, I'm going to tell a funny Perennial story that I have.
All right.
That if anybody who's listening as an actual craft beer drinker / enthusiast or knows anything about Perennial, they are going to laugh about this because they're going to know that I am 100% wrong, but I still maintain that I'm right.
Okay, let's see it. Let's hear it.
So years ago, several years ago, when my husband and I were kind of starting to get more into craft beer, he was working at the place he works at now, although in a different role.
Okay.
And we were talking about Perennial. And Perennial comes out with this beer. It's called Abraxas.
Yep.
And they also come out with a barrel-aged version of it. And it's pretty hard to get. You got to go to the brewery, you got to stand in line, or you got to sign up for the lottery, or however they do things over the years, however they've done things with this particular beer release.
Yep.
And my husband mentions this beer, and I say, Abraxas, barrel-aged Abraxas. And I say, oh, yeah, I've had that. And he's like, no, you haven't. They only have it at the brewery. We've never been in a bottle share where someone has opened one. You've never had barrel-aged Abraxas. And I went, yeah, no, I had it. There was a keg of it at World of Beer in the Bolingbrook Promenade. And I was like, oh, that sounds really good. I'm going to order a taste of it. I'm going to get a pour of this barrel-aged Abraxas. And he goes, no, it was probably regular Abraxas. And you thought it, was barrel-aged, or maybe, it tasted kind of strong or something like that. Because it wasn't even a recent memory when I was talking to him about it.
Sure.
And I was like, nah, I'm pretty sure you're wrong. I'm like positive it was barrel-aged Abraxas. And he was like, there's no chance.
There's no chance that it was
There's
that.
no chance that it was. And to this day, anytime somebody brings up Perennial, I tell them that I had barrel-aged Abraxas at World of Beer in Bolingbrook, and they insist that that's impossible, and I refuse to back down.
Well, World of Beer isn't there anymore.
Oh, no, it
so
isn't.
You can't even.
So, whatever.
It is.
Go ahead and
It
prove
is
me
what
wrong.
you think it is. So we will drink Abraxas later, regular Abraxas.
Regular Abraxas,
not
because
barrel-aged,
you
but
can't
yes.
get barrel-aged Abraxas outside of the brewery.
Yes.
But let's taste this. It's an
IPA.
IPA, you said?
It is an IPA.
Okay.
It smells like it almost smells like a double IPA.
I smelled it when I poured it, and I was just like, whoo. That has some aroma to it.
Right? I agree. And it's got a little kick to the taste, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in a
like
good
it.
way. In a
Yes.
good way. And not in a bad way.
It does smell and taste like a double IPA,
Right?
though.
To me, this definitely feels more like a double. But I don't know.
It's got like that juicy, hazy. It's definitely
It's
a
hazy. It's got the citrusy. It's got some grapefruit. It's got the hoppy bitterness. It's got all of the things that a typical double have. Definitely heavier than a regular IPA, at least to me. It feels like, but it's good. I like it.
I really like it.
Yeah, I'm
good.
definitely a fan.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep drinking this. So we'll talk a little bit. Perennial. I've never been there. One of these days I got to get down to St. Louis. There's so many places that I need to check out. I haven't been there in years prior to me even drinking beer. So the only brewery I've been to down there is Anheuser-Busch, which I don't love their beer, like their main beers, but their brewery is fascinating because it's so big and so historical and super interesting. So, but St. Louis definitely need to get back there. So Perennial, they they want to brew beer with the adventurous craft beer drinker in mind. But they're also super focused on local, fresh ingredients, conserving water, good for the environment. They don't have straws anywhere on their premises. They like the way that they work with one of our other beers we're going to drink that is a coffee stout, and they work with their coffee company. The way they steep their beans actually saves approximately 1,300 gallons of water each each vessel, I guess. So they're really into like the conserving energy and water conservation. 1,300 gallons per batch they save. But they opened in 2011 from St. Louis, Missouri. Their major production area is about 9,200 square feet and also has a barrel aging cellar. We talked about barrel aging some of their beers, which is, something they're definitely into. And then a 1,300 square foot tasting room as well, which they also serve a different rotating menu of locally grown foods and different things, depending. Actually, the owners are a husband and wife pair, and the wife's sister has taken over kind of the kitchen. So it's a family affair now.
Nice.
So Phil and Emily are the founders. Phil got his first initial start in the beer industry at...
Wait.
No.
No. Okay, sorry. I was going to say homebrew kit. No.
Not from what I have discerned. He actually started as a assistant brewer at Grindstone Brewing in Columbia, Missouri, while he was studying anthropology at the University of Missouri.
What?
So he started working at a brewery while he was in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool, and I like it.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think
Not
for fun, though,
we'll just go with homebrewing.
You should let me guess before you say.
All right.
You give me all the background, and then I'm going to guess.
How did they start?
Okay. Who brought the homebrew kit?
Who bought the homebrew kit? Mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister.
Right?
Yeah, because we've had all of the above.
I know.
But yeah, so he started working at a brewery in college, and actually he studied anthropology and archaeology actually at the University of Missouri. Doesn't use that at all. But their logo is it's a leaf. It's a ginkgo leaf.
Okay.
Generally speaking. So the ginkgo species of plant or of tree, I guess the leaf's known as a living fossil. I guess this species of tree, the living leaves look the same as their fossil record. So whether it's a fossil or a living leaf, they look the same, which I feel like might be something that came from his archaeology kind of background.
Sure, yeah, that sounds right.
So it totally feels like something that would have come from that kind of academia and whatnot. But so he started there, and then he actually got his big start in brewing at Goose Island. So he came up to Chicago. Went to Goose Island in 2006. He left there for Half Acre, which is the collab we're drinking now. So they've been a huge proponent, huge help in him kind of moving back down, because he was from Missouri, so moved back down to Missouri and St. Louis in 2010 and opened Perennial in 2011. So he went to Missouri, came to Chicago, learned some stuff, moved back. He went to Siebel, and I'm sure got lots of knowledge and connections and all kinds of things. They've
Nice.
done collaborations with different places. Obviously, this one's Half Acre, but there were others as well. And then went back down and brought all of that information and opened him and his wife opened their own brewery. So
That's great. That
yeah.
sounds like a good way to start.
Right, so pretty cool. They opened or did a partnership, and they have a second kind of tasting room at a vineyard in Defiance, Missouri, which makes me want to visit. In 2019, so Chandler Hill Vineyards, they actually have around 12 to 16 rotating beers on tap at the winery at all times. So
Okay, nice.
great idea for couples, people who half like wine, half like beer. I mean, it feels like a great
That's
partnership, you know? So that's where their second kind of tasting room is. But yeah, so they're, like I said earlier, they're very much into being environmentally responsible. They locally source ingredients as much as they can. They partner with local farms. There's a honey farm that they, or a bee farm, I don't know what you want to call that actually, that they use for some of their ingredients. And the coffee company that they use is Sump Coffee, which again, they help with conserving water and the way that they're actually roasting and producing some of the ingredients that go into the coffee stouts.
Nice.
Yeah, so they seem like a pretty cool place. You know, a lot of their different beers that they're doing are based off of whatever ingredients they can get are in season at the time, because they try and source everything that's local. So a lot of it's just going to be whatever's close by on farms, you know, produce that's available then, and that's what they use. The coffee beans actually then go into their second life as compost and continue kind of the cycle of all of that. So very environmentally friendly and interesting place.
Yeah,
so,
that's a great origin story.
Right?
I
liked
like it.
So
Yeah,
I really like this IPA.
this is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're actually more known for their stouts and their kind of Belgian beer styles and things. So an IPA actually is something that maybe isn't in their core wheelhouse, but this is very good.
Well, and it's definitely in Half Acre's
yes,
wheelhouse.
for sure. This is 100% Half Acre. Wheelhouse for sure. So, but it's a great collab and it's very tasty. So,
Yeah,
I
totally.
really like it. So that's a little bit about Perennial. We'll continue drinking this and I guess move on to our other parenting topic.
Yeah, let's this is gonna be interesting. So, we figured, maybe 100 episodes is enough. Maybe you guys will stop listening after this.
We'll
I don't
see.
know.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Continue on, everybody.
I mean, let's remember that we got to come up with a new idea for every episode.
That's
and
true.
I think that this is something that's so relevant to everyone, because literally everyone has had this experience.
Yeah, fair.
So let's talk about teachers. We're going to talk about teachers. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the people who have influenced our lives in positive and negative ways. Us personally, maybe, our kids as well. I have thoughts on both.
Me too, for sure. Yeah.
I'm going to focus a little harder on my experience so as to not target too many of my kids' teachers
That's probably
too hard.
a good strategy. All right.
So when I thought about how to kind of organize my thoughts, I didn't want to be like all over the place. I didn't want to go in chronological order because sometimes I had a good teacher and sometimes I didn't have a good teacher, and I don't want to put them up against each other.
Fair.
The thoughts I have about each one are really more isolated to them.
Sure.
So, I think for me, when it comes to the good, I had some teachers, and the theme of all of the teachers that fall into the quote-unquote good category for me treated the students like human beings.
Totally key.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that was going to be like the core of
Until
my
you started
appreciation.
reflecting, yeah.
Yeah, until I started writing it all down. And it started with my second grade teacher, Miss Marcotte.
Yep, mine too.
I hope she was on your list.
She totally is.
She was just so great. She treated us like people, and we were 8 years old.
I know. She was such an amazing teacher.
She didn't talk to us like children. I remember her just being so like matter of fact and so straightforward, but kind.
Yes.
She was a good disciplinarian. Her classes were always like very, organized and well put together because she did manage
and
classes
behaved.
well.
Like, it wasn't I remember in grammar school, some of our classes were out of control.
Absolutely.
And hers was not. People, even at that age, I feel like she was respected as a teacher. Even by a young group of individuals.
Absolutely.
So I think that to me is key too in looking back at teachers.
Well, and she deserved it. I mean, she
for
deserved
sure.
the respect because she was respectful.
Yep.
And I just think that just goes so far, especially when your kids reach that age where they're kind of starting to look at adults and decide, not every adult is a great, wonderful, caring person who's out for your best interest. And teachers are more often good and caring and out for your best interests.
But there are definitely some. I mean, and I know we said we shouldn't pit them up against each other. I hated my third grade teacher. Like, it was a vast difference.
Did you have the same one that I had, the older lady?
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so like vast difference from second to third, and you do start recognizing like this is not someone who values my opinion or treats me well. And like our kids are around that age, we can recognize that, and thinking back to how maybe we felt at the time. But definitely Miss Marcotte was one of my favorite teachers. I went to her wake a couple years ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, my mom still worked in the district for a long time, so she still has a lot of, she still goes to the luncheons every like once a month or something.
Oh, that's nice.
With a lot of the teachers. But yeah, no, she was definitely on my list as well of people that influenced me in a positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She was great.
Yep.
To go way further down and to skip a bunch of my teachers.
Which is fine. For the best.
I'm ready to talk about high school. Okay. And the first teacher that kind of jumped out in my mind was Miss Woj.
Okay.
She taught freshman biology, but she also taught honors microbiology and anatomy. And I had her for both of those things.
I didn't do science.
That wasn't your
jam.
jam.
My thing, no.
It's cool, man. The funny thing about Miss Woj is because she taught a freshman class and a senior class, she was like two different people.
I totally can see that.
Yeah, you probably had her freshman year.
I did have her freshman year. That's the only time I had her.
Been too fond of her because she did not like freshmen. She was outwardly comfortable admitting that she was not a fan of freshmen. And
fair.
I noticed that about her as a senior because I was running track and her side gig was massage therapy.
Oh, okay.
And at one point I had gotten shin splints really bad during track season and I was out. I wasn't running, but I was trying to get back in, and the best way to do that was to try to like get massages or rest and ice and elevate and all of those things. And she offered to let me come and sit in her classroom so that she could do like a therapy session with me. But it happened to be at the same time she had a freshman
class.
biology class. And I literally sat on a table while she rubbed my ankles and lectured to freshmen.
That sounds like such a weird situation.
Super weird. I just want to remind you that this is on the good list.
Yes. Oh, no. I think that my husband, we went to the same high school, obviously, liked her, but he also was more in the science realm of things, whereas I went the math route.
Oh, sure.
And I had Miss Chang for AP Calc, and my husband hated it. As a person, he liked Miss Chang. In a class, he hated it.
Yeah,
but math wasn't his thing, and I really enjoyed that class. So it's totally based off of partially your preference on too. Is that if you're not enjoying, and in high school it is. In elementary school, you all learn the same thing. But once you get to high school and you're taking AP classes and honors classes, like you have to actually enjoy it to really want to be in that class.
Absolutely.
Like,
or to be successful.
You're not going to take AP Calc if you don't want to be there. Like,
no, certainly not. I can say from experience. I did not take AP Calc because I did not want to be there.
Exactly.
Which is how you felt about
which is how I felt about anatomy.
Microbiology.
Yeah, microbiology. Totally. That was not my jam, and I'm okay with that.
She was very caring and very kind, and she did, even the freshmen, she did treat everyone like a human being, like an adult. Yep. Her treatment of freshmen, what it really boiled down to was that she wanted them to take school seriously. And so,
And this
you
was
know,
their
when you're a
first year as a
freshman,
freshman.
you know, and she taught
Yeah.
honors freshman biology.
Ah,
So, you know,
yeah.
she expected the students to be serious students. And sometimes you run into situations where they're not.
Yep. Totally. Yeah, I can totally
So,
see
you
that.
know,
Yeah, no.
she had a little bit of that, I think, going on.
I get it.
Another teacher that was a good influence for me and that I actually probably didn't even realize at the time was the band director, Mr. Pitlick. He was a good dude. He welcomed everyone. And I didn't notice that about him when I was in band.
Oh.
I don't know why. Maybe because I was comfortable and I already wanted to be there, so I
because
wasn't
you-
really looking for it.
Sure. Yeah.
He wanted everyone to enjoy music. He just wanted you to learn that love of music. He inspired a disproportionately high number of my classmates into becoming something in the music field.
industry. That's really cool.
A lot of them are teachers, band directors, choir directors, music teachers of some kind.
Sure.
Some of them teach private lessons. Some of them still play music.
That's really cool. Obviously, they had, you know, I think part of being a teacher is being able, like, having some sort of influence and really, you know, on people's futures. Like, isn't that what you kind of want as a teacher?
Yeah.
To, you know, kind of mold students to
Yes.
love something that you love. I mean, otherwise, especially in that, like when you're specializing, like when you're in
Sure.
high school and specializing in a subject, which is vastly different than elementary when you're very general, you really want to share your love of whatever that subject is with people.
Absolutely.
So-
And for him, with music, it was just like extremely obvious.
That's
And
cool.
like I said, I don't know if I fully appreciated him when I was
At the
in
time.
high school, but looking back, I can tell how much of an inspiration he was for a lot of students. And just because I didn't go on to keep playing
Sure.
music,
Yeah.
I do have a very healthy appreciation for music from
Oh,
like
yeah.
a musical talent perspective. When I run into somebody, a musician or an artist that's really, really good,
Yeah.
I appreciate that about them.
Oh,
Even
yeah. Regardless of whether you like the
Yeah.
genre or not, I can
Exactly.
totally respect that. I agree. Like, even if you don't, I very much love all music. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't pigeonhole myself into one type of music at all. And I didn't like our junior high band teacher at all.
yeah, he was almost on my bad list.
yeah,
he's like an honorable mention.
Yeah, for sure. But I did feel like as I got older, I grew to love music more, despite him, or in spite of him almost. But it is interesting. Like, I appreciate good music regardless of whether it's something I would typically enjoy or not. You know, because you can recognize if someone is talented.
Yes.
And that's the piece that draws people in is, wow, they have a talent for whatever they're doing.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's something that's really just admirable, I think. So that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so that I have one other teacher that I felt like really kind of rounds out my list of the good.
All right.
And it was somebody else that you also had as a teacher.
Uh-huh.
It was Mr. Collins.
TC. I was totally going to ask you about him. Okay.
TC.
Yep.
That's what we called him,
Yep.
TC. His name was Tom
Yep.
Collins.
Yep.
And we called him TC. He was a European history teacher.
Yes, he was. Always sit
And-
on top of his desk.
He stood on his desk a lot.
Lots. Yeah.
He was kind of a little guy, so I guess that was okay. I don't know. I would have been worried I was going to get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
But he was good with it. I think he'd been doing it for a long time.
Yes, he was an older teacher, but yeah, I loved him.
Just
He was...
kind, and one of those people that cared about you personally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was, whether it was in his class or not, he did care about his students just as people.
Absolutely.
Totally didn't matter about the grade, the class, just as people in general. But he was also animated and super interested in what he was teaching. Like,
Totally.
he very much was passionate about that. And I love history now.
Totally.
And I feel like having teachers that made it come alive was a huge key, especially in something like history. Like,
Absolutely.
you can be
History can be so dull.
Exactly. But if there's the right people, bring it to life, and it really gets you interested in that.
Yeah.
Most of the books I read nowadays are historical fiction or something about history, or I've read actual just history. Like,
Yeah.
And yeah, he was definitely on my list as well of teachers that I definitely enjoyed and you know, felt like they were a benefit. So
Any other good ones for you that you want to mention? You mentioned Miss Chang, who I did have as a student as well, and I really liked her as a person. But I kind of feel the way Brandon kind of
Yeah.
felt where she was amazing, and I wish I could have had more classes with
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
I just
But not
couldn't
what she was
do
teaching.
advanced mathematics.
Yeah, like Brandon played volleyball with her on like when we got older, just like at the rec center.
Totally.
So
I could
like
do that.
as a person, they were cool. In class, not so much.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed her class, and she was someone who challenged me.
Yeah.
Which for me in high school, because in elementary school was easy for me. Even AP classes were easy for me,
Yeah.
generally. Her class was the hardest for me, honestly. And I slacked off at first, 100%. And, like, she called you out on it. Like,
Yeah.
she challenged me, and I wound up getting my shit together and, like, did better. And, I wound up in college up to, like, Calc 3. And, like, I continued on. And it definitely, going through her classes, benefited me significantly going into college, especially going into a math heavy background. But I do think that she was also very to the point, just very like she wasn't someone that coddled people. Like, this is what you need to do.
No, yeah.
This is what you need to figure out. Like, do it. You're an adult now. And she treated us like that, but she was respectful, and, she was a good person, and she cared about everyone.
Definitely.
And I definitely felt like she was a very good teacher. So that was kind of my Miss Woj.
Yeah, no,
Opposite,
absolutely.
so.
I totally get it.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I didn't-
and very similar, those two.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. I didn't have a lot of extracurricular stuff in high school, really. Nothing that jumped out at me as like things that I thoroughly enjoyed. But yeah, TC and Miss Chang were definitely on the top of my list of people. Miss Marcotte in elementary school, those are most of the ones that I remember fondly.
Yeah.
There's some that like skate a line for different reasons, but those were definitely some of my top. So I'm going to stick with those.
It's funny
Yeah.
because I jumped from like second grade all the way to like freshman year in high school, and it's like when we talked about this period of time with these really old breweries where there's like no history.
There's no history in the
because
middle.
there was a war for 130 years.
Yeah.
That's what second
there
grade.
There were so
too.
many teachers that I look back and I was like, either you were miserable because you made everyone else miserable, or you just shouldn't have been in that role that you were in.
Well, I think we ran into a couple that were like close to retirement.
For
And
sure.
So
Yeah.
there was and I don't want to say, oh, they gave up. I did have one teacher that 100% for sure gave up her last year of teaching in high school.
Oh, okay.
And she flat out told us.
Yeah.
She was like, this is it, I'm retiring.
Yep.
We're going to do the bare minimum.
Yep,
And
yeah.
she like said it at the beginning of the year. And I was just like, oh, wonderful.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there weren't a lot of middle school, elementary school that jumped out at me as great, like good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I don't
mediocre
know,
teachers.
yeah. Sorry, Worth.
So, yeah, right? All right. So, next category.
Let's talk about the bad now that we've transitioned kind of into it.
Oh.
I only have like a little bit to say in this area.
That's fine. We don't want to badmouth teachers too bad. It's a hard job.
It
so.
is so difficult.
I don't want that job, so I get it if, people aren't super
And
happy
that-
all the time.
That same range of time that I have no one to speak about, they're not in the bad list either for
Okay.
me. So it's that time wasn't bad.
Okay.
It wasn't great, but it
Sure.
wasn't bad.
It was just not
It was
memorable.
just nothing significant.
Okay, fair,
I mean, I grew and learned and all of those
Sure,
things.
we made it to adulthood successfully. We both have higher education degrees.
Absolutely.
So we did all right. Like
Yes.
our base was good.
Yes. I had a first grade teacher who was far more concerned about like
Aesthetics.
doing her nails
yes.
than teaching. I don't remember learning anything
Yeah.
in first grade.
I remember her heels. That's what
she wore
I
very
it was
high
not in
heels.
your class, but I still remember
You
her
know
heels.
who I'm
yes, I
talking
know
about.
exactly who
She-
you're talking about.
Wasn't a very nice person either. Like she was a little scary.
Yes, people were afraid of her, especially
yeah.
in first grade.
Yeah, she
Like,
taught 6 and 7 year olds, and she was like, had like super long nails and high heels and tight dresses and like.
Some of us used to call her Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, that's not a reach if you're trying to imagine her. Yeah. And not to judge her based on appearance, because it's really not what she's in the bad.
Yeah, no.
That's fine.
Yeah.
By all means.
If you're an amazing teacher, dress however you want.
But it was all busy work and no learning.
Yeah.
I remember coming home with color sheets upon color sheets upon color sheets. I missed 21 days of first grade.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And my mom let me stay home because she let me do whatever I want.
Well, yeah. Also, you weren't really missing a ton.
No.
So.
You know what happened? When I would miss a day, I would just have 7 more color sheets that I had to do before the next day.
Yeah.
And that was it. I just got nothing from that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a formative year, you know? First grade.
Yeah,
First grade is like your first real grade of real school. Because kindergarten is like how-to school. It's intro to school.
Fair. Yeah.
And first grade is like, okay, now you're a student. Here's a desk.
Yeah.
Sit down.
And things you need to learn to read and start math and like do stuff.
Yeah, you have subjects.
Yeah.
And so it was a hard thing. Fortunately, thank God, my next year's teacher was Miss Marcotte,
fantastic. So you're fine.
She saved me.
Yes.
So
it worked out. I feel like that was by design. But
well, they were like, well, we got to help these poor kids. They had a hard go.
Yeah.
We got to do something.
Yeah.
The only other teacher that really kind of is in the bad, because I'm not going to name all of the coaches I had that were terrible.
No, that would take all the rest of our time.
We've already had that episode.
Yeah.
And they were also teachers. Some of them I had and some of them I didn't. The only other teacher I'll mention is a high school teacher. She taught AP US history.
Oh.
I did not take AP US history specifically because she was teaching it.
Okay.
And she was just this like super neurotic, cold, like she just came off as like completely insane. I don't think she was completely insane, but it was the air about her. And I had her for homeroom in high school.
Okay.
And she stressed me out
Oh.
so much.
For homeroom.
I was in peer mediation as an extracurricular activity, and it would be during your homeroom sometimes, like once a week.
Sure.
And it was run by an assistant principal at the school, and he instructed the homeroom teachers to not mark us absent for homeroom on the like Tuesdays every week or whatever. And he was just like, it's cool if they're actually absent, they'll be marked absent for everything else. Just don't mark them absent because then we have to go through this whole process. She used to mark me absent every single time.
Oh my God.
And then I would have to go to the office I was with that guy. The man in the suit over there.
In the side office.
I was with him. I was here. I didn't ditch homeroom.
Oh my gosh.
I don't ditch school. Why would I ditch homeroom? It's like the easiest thing, except unless your homeroom teacher is this woman.
Yeah, then I don't want to be there.
Then it's super stressful.
Yeah.
Then I guess you have a right to accuse me of ditching because I don't
want
to go.
Be there. Oh yeah.
She would like put her head down on her desk because it was like too much of an emotional weight.
Oh my gosh.
To have to like manage the homeroom for 15 minutes before you would go to lunch.
It seems like the easiest of the school.
And from what I understand, she was exactly the same way with the AP US history kids. It was like
that sounds horrible.
That was her teaching style.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. And I was just like, you got to calm down.
Yeah.
We're high school kids. We're already stressed out enough.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening.
You do not need to stress us out anymore.
It was just...
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on with her, but she stressed me out, man. That's all I got.
I get it.
I can't say it. I don't want to be mean, but she stressed me out. Good.
High school, I there wasn't a ton of people I didn't love. I did not like our AP English teacher at all in any way, shape, or form. Like in any capacity.
I wasn't gonna mention her.
She was
because she was just like selfish.
She was super selfish.
Yeah.
She did not do a good job of teaching at all. I mean, she just didn't.
Did you read like
anything?
Any of the books?
No,
and
not
you
at all.
Like reading?
Yeah, I love reading. I didn't do any of it. She also played favorites heavily.
Oh yeah, boys.
Heavily. My
she liked
husband.
Boys.
She would let him out of class to go run errands for her like to the store, like leave campus to go do stuff. She heavily played favorites. I did not like her as a human being in general. But I definitely did not like her as a teacher. So not a fan. The one other teacher in my career that I disliked was our art teacher in junior high.
Oh, really?
I don't think she liked me.
Really?
Like at all. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I have an opinion of her, although she was also the basketball coach for like 6th and 7th graders, something I think, like that, or something, or 6th grade maybe.
Maybe 6th. I did play basketball for a short period in junior high.
Yeah. And she was like actually not a terrible basketball coach, but I'm not a talented artist. I remember.
am not either. And she ridiculed me for not being good at art. And I'm like, I'm great at math. I'm not good at art. Like, it's
this
just
is
not
a required course, ma'am.
This is not something that I chose, and I am not good at it. And I will try, but
I tried really hard.
I was not good at it,
no.
and I'm still not good at art. Like, it's just not my thing. But she like took offense to the fact that I was not good at art, and she was not a pleasant person to deal with.
Yeah,
it was like 6th grade, like,
and you're just like, I'm a child.
Yeah, dude, and I am not an artist, nor will I ever be. So
yeah.
That literally to this day still sticks out at me.
That's
like
a shame. But I get where you're coming from.
So that stuck out. Most of the rest of my teachers were somewhere in the middle. There were a couple that stuck out as just unique. Mr. Cross was unique.
Mr. Cross. Which one was Mr. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Cross.
The guy who used to dump desks out.
He likes to throw desks at students. He was unique.
I asked my son's teacher, his current teacher, if he dumps desks.
Yeah.
And he said, we're not allowed to do that anymore. That's what, those were his exact words.
Anymore.
Which was perfect. It was the perfect response to my question.
Fair,
because it meant he 100% knew what I was talking about and could relate to what I was saying, but also was a little sad that he doesn't get to do that.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't fit into his personality at all.
Sure.
Because he's like the kindest person on the planet. I can't imagine him getting upset and dumping
Mr. Cross
out
was a
someone's
hothead.
desk.
But so he wasn't bad or good. He was just like somewhere in my unique category
he
of
was
teacher.
Kind of strange.
Right? Yes.
Not bad.
Not
good.
bad or not good.
Well, and he
just,
falls.
Just unique.
He was in the void.
Middle. Yeah.
Because he was in that 4th grade.
Yeah, in the middle. He was literally just in the middle. But he's still, I remember him because he was just unique.
Yes.
So,
agreed.
yeah.
Yes.
So that was on my list. All right, what's
so
all right, I'm gonna open this too so we can
open it and start talking about some of our kids' teachers.
That sounds
shall
great.
we? Let's gossip more.
I like it. Let's do it. This is a great episode. All right. We're drinking Shake the Frost, a session coffee stout. And this is another one brewed in collaboration with Sump Coffee Company. The coffee looks like it's from Mexico. There's a little pickaxe and a backpack on here. All right, here.
Okay, bring it
Let's
on.
give it a try. Why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh, smells like roasted coffee.
Coffee stout.
It literally smells like roasted coffee beans.
Whoa, yeah, it does.
Like, heavily.
It smells good, though. I love coffee.
It smells like coffee, which, yeah, if you don't like coffee, you're not going to like this. But, man, it smells like coffee.
No, you're not going to like it because it tastes like coffee, too.
Oh, this is coffee. This is coffee.
Yeah, this is less
like cold
beer
brew coffee.
and more coffee. Yes.
This tastes like a cold brew.
It's It's not quite so like hit you over the head with coffee as cold brew, but it is like very creamy, mellow.
This is really good.
Coffee stout. This is exactly what a coffee stout should taste like. Yeah.
It tastes like coffee.
This is very good.
Yeah.
Very coffee forward though. So, 100%. You have to love coffee or this
if
is
you
not
don't
for
love
you.
coffee, this is not for you. But this is really tasty. I'm a big fan. All right. Kids teachers.
The kids teachers. Okay, same deal, man. A lot of the ones that I'm going to mention fall into that same category as the ones I mentioned for myself, that they have a respect for the kids, that they're out for their best interest. And I know if you're a teacher, you're thinking right now, well, yeah, why are you teaching
if you don't have those characteristics or feelings? Yes.
Care about the kids. Everyone will tell you that the prime reason that they do it is because they want to I don't want to sound like a cliche, but they want to mold the youth of America, right?
Yeah.
And
But then there's some teachers that are in that position and then figure out it's not for them, but they just don't have anywhere else to go.
Well,
and I
and
really believe that happens.
I think it does happen because I think that, and I don't know that they were good or bad teachers, but I know that my in-laws were both teachers.
Okay.
And they'll both tell you now, having retired, that they wish they would have gone a different direction at some point.
Sure.
Early, middle, and
Sure, at some point that wasn't the job for them.
No. And I think that while they may have persevered
Sure.
and still been there for their students, and they're very caring, loving people, so I assume that they did.
Sure.
There are probably people that felt the same way about teaching and weren't able to handle it the same way.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I think that does have a huge impact on how you relate to the kids.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. Yeah.
So, yeah, the good.
The good.
The good.
All
I
right.
think I have to start with one of my older sons. Well, my younger son had her too, I think. I don't remember now. My older son had a preschool teacher who was just like the sweetest, nicest woman,
Aww.
super caring, almost, and I won't go so far as to say affectionate because I think that's a little borderline.
Sure.
But
sure.
like loving, like a little loving.
Okay.
And I think when you're talking about
At that
3-year-olds,
age, like that's okay.
yeah,
Like,
that
yeah.
if they come and they sit on your lap in circle time,
Yeah.
when they're 3, it's okay.
Yes.
They can do that. And
When
you
they're
can
8,
be happy.
not so much, but at 3,
Yeah.
that's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And she was like that. And she obviously had my son's best interests in mind. There was sort of like a little issue when he was in school, in preschool. The other teacher in the preschool felt that he needed an aide to help him kind of integrate into the class
okay.
a little bit more. He
Yeah.
wasn't really socializing with his peers very much. And part of that is probably because he was an oldest child
Yep.
and wasn't around a bunch of other kids until he got to preschool, which is extremely common.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't really like taking the next step and like making friends.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to bring in an aide to kind of help
Okay.
facilitate that because the teachers weren't able to focus directly on him enough.
Okay.
And the way that it played out was that at some point they kind of decided and got the ball rolling on this, but at no point did they mention it to me or my husband.
Well, that's the sticking point there, though. Like, it's
Yeah.
not the lack of communication is really
So-
yeah.
Eventually, one day, I picked my son up from preschool, and one of the teachers, not the one that's on my good list, was just like, "Oh, by the way, his aide starts next Tuesday."
And
And
you
I
were
was like, "What aide?"
Yeah.
And she was just like, "Oh, well, we got him an aide, to kind of help him along, with the things that he's working on."
You were like,
What is he working
on?
And I was like, "Okay, I read my email.
Yes. Yes.
I've never
I
missed
have
a phone call."
No recollection of what you're talking
Not
about.
at
So
all.
let's
Not at
take
all.
a step back. Yeah.
So these two teachers, I guess, really kind of conflicted in this a little bit. And ultimately, the teacher that I felt really, really cared about him kind of moved on after this incident.
Interesting.
Not immediately, but she
Sure.
sort of like started working with like littler kids within the park district and stuff like that, and wasn't really doing the preschool anymore. And I was just
Interesting.
like bummed out she wasn't there for
'Cause
my
you're like,
younger son.
She was the one that you actually liked, as opposed to, or felt he was beneficial versus the other.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so,
Okay.
it's funny to me because I didn't find that out until very recently, actually. And I guess I had no idea how hard she advocated for him and how much she cared about him.
Yeah.
And in the end, I'm glad he did have a little extra help. I do think it was a good thing for him. I think
Yeah.
that his best interests were in mind of everybody involved. I do think that. I just wanted to know.
Well, yeah, and
maybe
they
just
should,
call
the
me.
communication with the parents is key, especially at such a young age.
Yeah, and
so.
I think it's possible that sometimes teachers in that position are afraid that parents are going to get defensive. No, my kid's fine. He doesn't
which
need extra
happens
help.
a lot. So
I
that's
100%
totally
believe that it does.
Fair.
And I
yeah.
know that my kids in their current school interact with students who are in desperate need of extra help And it's not that the teacher isn't trying to help them.
It's that the parents
It's
don't
that
necessarily believe that they need the help.
If the parents
A
aren't
lot
going to
of
consent to
parents
that.
put their they're an ostrich. They stick their head in the sand and then they don't pay attention to what that happens a lot. So my oldest is autistic, and a lot of parents, for whatever reason, that probably do have kids that have some additional needs, refuse to accept that their kids could use additional help. And your
Yes.
son's very different than mine, but so it's not that. But even like my girl needed extra help with math and reading for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. My twin boy was in speech for like 2 years. And everybody's like, why is he in speech? And I was like, because they're giving it to him. He can take all the help he can get. Like,
Yeah, why
even if he
fight it?
doesn't actually need it, if it's going to benefit him, why am I passing up free help? Like,
It's not going to hurt him.
it's never going to hurt. Any sort of additional academic like instruction is never going to hurt. So people like kind of were like, why is he in this? And I was like, because it's not going to hurt him. It can
No.
only help him.
Absolutely.
And he articulates words like he's way older than he is now.
Yeah.
So it certainly didn't hurt in any way, shape, or
Absolutely.
form.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my twins' preschool. So we went to, I don't know if it's a private preschool. I guess it technically was. We did not go through like the Park District where we were originally going to go through because that was a different episode. And so Miss Dawn was who they had for third and fourth grade preschool, and they absolutely loved her, adored her. And she was fantastic. I had no negative interactions with her preschool at all. So we really lucked out with that for sure. So, and my oldest, I feel like 99.9% of the people that he's dealt with, because he's always been in special education classes, have been truly great
That's
teachers.
good.
Like,
That's good.
we're in a very good, I think, district. I absolutely despised the assistant special education director for a while, for a few years.
Wow.
He is gone.
Oh, that's
he
good.
gave me this, and everybody hated him. He literally didn't know the laws. He lied to people flat out. He was like a slimy used car salesman. That's how I felt when I had to be in a meeting with him. I like needed to take a shower when I left because he
Ew.
just was the worst. So, and he's gone now, so it's fine. I mean, it's a very difficult to maneuver the special education world between funding and needs and all of the things that, special education students, technically by law, you have to provide certain things. And to
Okay.
actually have teachers, there's something called FAPE, and it's essentially making sure that all students have access to education, and that looks different for everyone. So some
Sure.
people need one-on-one help. Some people need to be, specials and therapies to be pushed in or pulled out, or it's just, there's so many different facets to it. So I can only imagine how hard it is to navigate, to have the resources and the right people in the right places and people that even want to do that job.
Sure.
But we've really lucked out that I really truly think that most of the teachers that my son has had really just care about the students. And there's only 8 kids in his class right now, so
Right.
there's not a ton, but we've very much lucked out with that realm
That's
for
good.
his teachers. The twins I cannot say the same for. I don't think. It's definitely interesting because they've been split up since preschool. So preschool they were together because there just weren't that many kids in class. Kindergarten, first and second, they've all been in separate classes.
Sure.
So kindergarten, I loved both of their teachers. They were very different, but I liked both of them. First grade, I loved my daughter's teacher. I did not love my son's teacher. She wasn't a bad teacher. She just didn't seem to relate well to the students.
Okay.
So it was just different. I feel like in first grade, it's still a little bit more fun, not as like strict. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, they had assignments, they had grades, they had, important things that they had to pay attention to. But I definitely feel like my daughter's teacher tried to incorporate them in ways that a first grader would actually enjoy doing them versus like, here's a regimented worksheet that you have to do.
Sure.
She tried to make it, she tried to disguise the learning to the best she could. She also has 3 kids in our district, so I feel like she very much related to the students and the parents, and she communicated great. She would email me regularly. I almost never heard from my son's teacher, like, unless there was an issue. So, like, completely different. This year, it's the opposite. My son's teacher is fantastic. She has no kids at all, actually, and she communicates everything all the time. Great. Nice. She lets the kids spend their, like, they get like a break time, I don't remember when, and she lets them talk about or share with the class, like, what did you do this weekend, and try and, like, get people to be more of a community in class. My daughter's classroom never gets to talk about anything socially. Can't say, oh, well, where did we go on spring break? Doesn't get to do any, like, share anything with her other classmates about anything outside of the math, homework, science, reading, like, very specifically what they're doing. So their styles are completely different. And the bad part is my daughter had a sub for the first half of the year until December, who was much different than her teacher now. So her teacher came back from maternity leave.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
so she's had 2 different teachers, and she really misses the sub. Oh. Because it was just a happier environment. Like, she loves school, but she's like, I don't get to share. Like, I don't get to share. We went to Colorado for spring break. I don't get to share anything. Like, and at 7, like, she wants to do that, you know? Yeah, and totally. My son's teacher's like, yeah, send me a picture. We'll throw it up on the screen during break, like, and people can talk. So they are very, very different. And not even in what they're teaching, because their curriculums are exactly the same. What they learn is exactly the same. It's in their styles. Like, yeah. And they're just super, super different. But it's the opposite from first grade to second grade in terms of which teacher we really, like,
well, at
enjoy.
Least it switched, I guess.
Yes. It's not...
Because then you didn't have somebody who had 2 bad years in a row.
So that's where we're at so far. So we'll see next year.
Yeah, so my kids have had a lot of the same teachers over the years. Yeah. So kind of a different angle.
Yeah, totally different.
Because we've kind of repeated a lot. Yeah. They both had the same kindergarten teacher. She is quite possibly one of my favorite teachers of all time. And this includes all of the teachers I've ever had. Oh, wow. I just really like her. Okay. She is so good. She's so invested. She's just, like, amazing. She's still the kindergarten teacher at their school. I socialize with her a little bit when I go to pick up the kids. Yeah. My older son comes out the same door as the kindergartners. Okay. And so when I go to get him, when I walk up to get him, he often will be already, like, right at the curb, like, ready to leave. Yeah. And I'll be like, hang on one second. I want to go say hi to Miss Raz really quick. And he'll be like, oh, okay. And she'll, you know, oh, how are you? Yeah, how's it going? Yeah. Did you have a nice break?
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
You know, and she's just so friendly and nice. And she taught my kids so much. And my younger child, that was the year that he got sent home. Yeah. And, like, I sent her this email when we knew we weren't coming back. Yeah. And I said, you know, he'll never realize that he missed out, that these 3 months were ripped away from him with you. Yeah. And that the impact that you would have had on the 3 months of kindergarten that he lost, it will forever exist. Yeah. That it took him so long to master reading, and that he, as I've mentioned before, he doesn't really enjoy it. And how I feel like this boils down to his reading experience as a kindergarten / first grader. True. Yeah. And she just has such a big impact. My other son, for example, loves to read. He reads everything. He's always reading. He joins every book club. He's in every book battle of the books. He's in writing book reports. He just he really enjoys reading.
That's great. Yeah.
And I think she played a really big part in that. Oh. And she was just a good start for
and that's
real
so
school,
key
quote,
at
unquote.
that age. Yeah, for sure.
Just a great start.
I will
them.
say that the twins both had really good kindergarten teachers.
That's
I
good.
really enjoyed both of them, and they were good. They were just good teachers. Like, they really did. They were just. I think they liked their jobs. Like, they really helped the kids. Like, so it was same. We were very lucky with kindergarten. Yeah.
My children had different first grade teachers. My older son had a teacher who retired the year before my younger one got to first grade.
Yeah.
So when he was in kindergarten,
Yeah.
she had retired. She does substitute teach still at the school, so my younger son has had her a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But he never had her as a teacher. My kids were full remote for most of that school year.
Okay.
So he didn't go into the school building until the beginning of February in first grade.
Okay, yeah.
So he spent a lot of time remote. And that it's funny because his remote first grade teacher is also one of the most wonderful teachers I've ever come into contact with. She made remote learning about as enjoyable as it could possibly
be. Yeah.
She was enthusiastic and engaging and interesting.
Which is hard. Yeah, that's awesome.
My little one would want me to sit in the room with him because he didn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
This was a very common trait for him.
Sure.
And she was engaging. The kids participated. She kept them at their desk. Like, how do you keep a 7-year-old engaged for 6 hours on a laptop?
That sounds
I
like a
can't
very
do that.
difficult feat. So kudos to the people who did. Yeah.
She was very, very good. She was very interesting. When he went back in person, he switched teachers, and he had the other first grade teacher because one stayed remote because they allowed kids to stay remote, and only about half the kids went back.
We didn't do that.
Yeah. You know, our school district is so big, and I think they just kind of... They had the resources, so they allowed for that. And
we did have a class that was full remote, but you had to pick from the beginning whether you would be coming back or not, because we were hybrid almost all year.
Right.
So our district was very different in that we almost from the beginning were still hybrid.
Yeah.
So there was one class that whoever said we're going to stay remote all year, that's who they were assigned to from the beginning.
Yeah.
So we didn't really do the mixed.
Yeah. So he did... His original first grade teacher ended up being the remote teacher, which personally kind of makes sense because she was excellent at it.
If she can keep kids engaged remote, then that makes sense to have her do that. So
we were just sad to see her go.
Agreed.
But his new first grade teacher was actually really good too.
Oh, good.
We really liked her. So it turned out that both the first grade teachers were really good.
That's great.
So that worked out really well for him. He was happy to go back. He was comfortable, all of that stuff. So, you know, it was good. One last person I'm going to mention on the good list for my kids, and that's my son's current 5th grade teacher, Mr. Guernsey. I'll name him by name because, he deserves the recognition. This guy has been a ray of sunshine for my kids since Joe was in kindergarten. Since my son, my oldest, was in kindergarten. And always greeted him. Always was outside in the morning. Oh, hey, how's it going? How are you guys today? And he's just like friendly and kind and interacts with the students. And he ran camps over the summer for basketball and soccer, and my son always participated in that stuff just because he wanted to be there and he wanted to experience these things. And he's a great coach, and he's a great teacher, and he's so welcoming, and he's like, it's like his sole purpose is to boost confidence.
Oh, well, kids at that age need that.
Yes.
Like, that's totally key.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
he just
great.
Knows exactly how to do it.
That's awesome.
And he's, I watched this video that the school district put out about him because he's a former graduate from the district.
Oh, okay, got it.
And he talks about coaches that influenced him when he was growing up and things like that. And I found it really interesting because I think that his teaching style is very, like, coach-like. That it's like, sometimes you got to tough love, but sometimes you got to just boost confidence, and you have to encourage, and you have to motivate.
Okay.
And he just is really good at it.
That's
He's
great.
Really good.
And that's not something I feel like you can teach. Like, that's something that you either have sometimes or you don't, and that personality is something that it's great if you can find it in a teacher. Yeah, we've got some good teachers. I definitely, like I said, I really like my son's current teacher. Our principal's weird. He's
What?
He's very animated, but he's just very different. Like it just gives me a weird vibe. Like I don't know what it is about him.
Weird vibe. That's so funny.
He's just, and a lot of the parents are like, he's weird, right? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but how?
Yeah, he's kind of weird. I mean, I can't really put my finger on it, but he's definitely weird.
Maybe he just is really excited.
Yeah, I maybe very excitable. That's possible, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what next year, what third grade brings about.
Yeah, I will say one last thing about Mr. Guernsey.
Yeah,
because nobody's perfect, right?
Fair.
He is a Bears fan, which I can let slide.
I can support that.
Yeah, I can let that slide
nobody
because
in Chicago can really support that at this point.
Yeah, but he's also a Michigan grad, so he went to Michigan, so he's a Michigan fan, which is fine. It's just, when we were in college, Michigan was good at football, and that was very frustrating for me.
I agree.
And so it was difficult to have our one loss the year that we went to the Sugar Bowl be against Michigan.
Yeah.
So, we've allowed ourselves to go, get past these little differences that he and I have. Although it is a topic of conversation pretty regularly, I happen to see him outside of school every once in a while because his oldest child and my youngest are best friends.
Aw, oh, that's too cute.
And so they go to birthday parties.
Sure, on a more social level than
And when they're at school events, they're together at them.
Aww.
And so there are times where we'll be standing next to each other at a birthday party for 3 hours, and we'll talk about football or we'll talk about college basketball.
That's where the conflict comes in.
Yes, but it's a friendly conflict.
I'm okay with that. We can be friends with people that don't have the same sports affiliations.
Yeah,
as
that's
we do,
another
so
episode for us to have someday where we can talk about that.
All right, I'm good
whether
with
your
that.
philosophies can get in the way of your friendships.
I like it. I like it. What philosophies can't? All right, we're writing this down.
Yeah, put that in the list.
All right, let's wrap it up with regular Abraxas.
Not barrel aged, I'm being told.
No.
I need to take a sip of water really quick before I drink another.
Ooh, smell this one.
I know I smelled it before I took my water drink there.
Yeah. Huh.
Abraxas has cinnamon in it,
It smells like it. It doesn't.
I haven't had
So we have a
cinnamon in
crowler, so we
forever.
don't know. So it doesn't give us literally anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has cinnamon in it.
Certainly smells. It definitely has cinnamon because I can smell the cinnamon. But
Right?
it's steeped in ancho chilies, which is
maybe that's
crazy.
the spicy
Cocoa nibs, cinnamon, and vanilla beans.
cinnamon. Okay, cool. I'm not crazy.
No, not. But it's definitely cinnamon. I mean, you can smell that cinnamon for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I get a little
I got
bit
chili.
Yeah. I get a little bit of chili on the initial taste.
Yeah. I definitely get the cinnamon. A cocoa. I mean, it's a good mix.
It's a nice balance.
It is. That is a good way to put it. It's a good balance. I definitely smell the cinnamon more than I taste the cinnamon.
I agree.
think. So I can smell it. The aroma is heavy cinnamon.
It's just like lingering though in my nose, like the smell of cinnamon, which does make me taste it more when I drink it.
Totally. And that's natural, but I smell the cinnamon more than I taste it, but I think the chili offsets the cinnamon taste, which is why I don't taste the cinnamon
that's interesting. I think you're right.
So,
So I didn't get to really mention any bad teachers for my kids. So I want to mention that really quick while we drink this knockout beer really quick
let's
here.
Do it. All right.
I've only had kind of two, and I'm going to call them negative experiences, and not necessarily negative
teachers,
because I don't think that either of these people are bad teachers at all. One of my older child's teachers was a first-year teacher.
Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
And my son's class, his grade, is just like a bunch of wild children, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of X factors. There's a lot of strong personalities. I wouldn't go so far to say that there's a lot of like behavior issues because I don't think most of the kids are that severe.
Sure.
In their like day
but when
to day.
they get in a group together, there's some
there's some things that happen, and I think that she kind of had to deal with some of that, and being a first-year teacher, that was very complicated.
I could see that. Yeah.
And our experience was that my son had a lot of, he got in trouble a lot that year. He got sent to the principal a couple of times.
Wow. Okay.
We came in for meetings a couple of times, and this is not really his personality.
Yeah,
that had never happened
typical of him.
before.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened since.
Okay.
There have been occasions where a teacher has been like, oh, he's been hanging out with this one kid that's been acting up, but, I've gotten one or two emails where, he went along with the crowd and they were doing something they shouldn't.
Yep.
Does that happen? Yes. That happens with a lot of kids.
Yeah.
But it's not very often.
Sure. And it's not called in the, into the office.
And there's not a lot of principal's office time since that year. So I think that maybe she was just like a little bit overwhelmed with that whole situation.
Sure.
And I don't think he really suffered from it either. Like, from an academic standpoint, I thought she was great.
Sure.
I think that he did fine academically. Okay. So I don't really have a lot of concerns. Yeah. The only other thing I'll mention is, I've mentioned before, my son tried out for the school play.
Yes.
We had kind of a negative experience with the teacher that was running the school play, only in the sense that she kind of told my son that he wasn't going to get a big part because they offered them to upperclassmen. Okay. But then gave the lead in the play to a classmate of my son's who was also in third grade.
Right.
And so it was kind of like, why didn't you just tell him that you gave the parts to the kids that had the best audition?
Yeah. You don't need to falsify why someone didn't get something.
It's okay. Yep. We talked about failure and disappointment. Yep. It's okay.
Yes.
Hey, maybe you weren't the best kid who tried out for Captain Hook.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, man.
And they need to learn that, especially at third grade. Like they
You can tell them that, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, just a negative experience, not really a bad. I think my kids have been really lucky. Yeah. We haven't really had any bad teachers. Yeah. Especially not like year-long bad.
No, not bad. Yeah, and again, my experiences have been just more, it's just interesting because the twins both have different teachers and you can very easily see the differences. So a lot of it sometimes is communication, and a lot of it, honestly, I feel like sometimes their styles almost are not lending themselves well to the age that they're teaching. So
yeah, that makes sense.
When you're 7, you value different things than when you're 11. And
sure.
I think that sometimes the teachers are just not in tune as much with that. And some are, and some aren't. And that's more, I think, what our experiences have been. But our district we're very happy with, and overall it's been good. So hopefully that continues. We will see as time goes on. But
yeah, my son's about to go to middle school.
Crazy.
So that is going to be an insane time for us.
Yeah, we actually, my oldest, which is very different because it's a special ed class, but he will start middle school next year as well, because our middle school is 4th and 5th grade.
Oh, okay.
4th and 5th? No, 5th and 6th grade. What? Yeah, 5th and 6th grade.
I was going to say, he's about to be in 5th grade.
5th
I know
and
that.
6th grade, and then junior high is 7th and 8th. So we have 2 separate schools for when we were in junior high, it was 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Right.
So for our district, because we have so many students, 5th and 6th is in one school, 7th and 8th is in a different school.
My brother's kids have something like that, because they have a primary school, which is kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd.
Okay.
And then they have a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
Gotcha.
And then they have a 6, 7, 8.
Yep. So every district does it different. But yeah, he'll be going to a totally different school next year. So we can revisit this in a year and see how things go. So
I think that's a good idea.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to keep drinking my cinnamon, ancho, chili, cocoa, vanilla stout.
Regular Abraxas.
Regular Abraxas. And cheers.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week, and cheers to you all.